Well, good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to Zyxel's Tech Talk. My name is Troy Wynn. I am the product manager, sales manager here in Zyxel North America. Good to have you here. Welcome new partners and those who might be interested in becoming a partner with Zyxel. We're going to be covering today a lot of the products and going over an overview of our portfolio, at least from a high level, just to introduce you to these different solutions that we have available. So during this presentation, I like to be interactive, so please feel free to use the Q&A section of this to ask any questions, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. So let's just go ahead and jump right on in, and we'll get started here. So welcome to Zyxel. We are a worldwide company at Zyxel Networks, over 35 years. We'll be celebrating 35 years this year in the networking space. 100 million devices making connections worldwide, 700 employees serving 150 markets, with over 1 million businesses using Zyxel solutions today. We are trusted to deliver solutions to millions of people and end users around the world. Some of the brands that you see down there at the bottom, just a few of those that we've worked with in the past. A lot of hospitality, a lot of retail, but businesses that you may be serving, even mom and pop shops and things like that. It depends on what kind of customers that you serve today, and bringing networking solutions there. We work with industry partners and some of the leaders out there in the space from a security standpoint, from the cloud standpoint, from different application solutions as well. You can see we integrate companies like McAfee, Norton, Webroot, Bitdefender into our products, like our security product line, or on our network AV, working with companies like Wirestorm and Ekahau for the wireless side, and then hosting a lot of our services within the Amazon cloud, or partnering with Azure and Amazon services for our VPN capability to connect to the cloud. And we here are a channel company, so we work with channel reps within the nation. We have 3 reps, 3 account managers that are serving you. So if you see your state listed here, you'll see the appropriate person. David Chen manages the East region in Canada. Andy Goudreau handles the account management in the Western region, and Jacob Olson handles the central region. And we are solutions driven. We are here to provide everything your client needs from a networking standpoint. We develop our products and our hardware in our R&D facilities, and we value your feedback based on what you need, what your customers need, and what verticals you're working on. We want to provide an end-to-end solution for all of your networking needs. And we provide a comprehensive portfolio for that end-to-end network: security appliances, wireless solutions, LAN connectivity infrastructure with PoE, PoE++, with multi-gig, 10 gig, fiber, everything that you can think of from that standpoint. Gateway solutions with routers or business access gateways or LTE hotspot type gateways, and network management, using it in the cloud or in standalone mode. So different ways to manage it, these devices in the way that you may need and want to. But the number one way that we've been really successful over the last several years now is because of our Nebula cloud platform. Maybe you've heard of Nebula before. Maybe this is the first time you've heard of Nebula, but it is a powerful, effortless, and scalable cloud solution that helps you to manage the entire stack: security switches, wireless, security switches, and wireless access points, all centralized in a central place under a single pane of glass. And you can manage all of that and deploy networks even without unboxing the product. There's no additional hardware or software in order to use this service as well. There's no cloud keys. There's no on-site servers you have to install. There's no software on a local machine that you have to install. Everything is housed within the devices themselves. So whether you decide to use a switch by itself in the Nebula Cloud, or just choosing to use our access points in your solution, you can choose. You don't have to use all the services or all the products in order for it to work. So any piece will make it will work perfectly fine. So again, that makes it scalable, makes it easier for you to make that entry into the network. But ultimately, we know that once you start trying and using Nebula, you'll see the benefits of why the entire network being Nebula powered is going to be a great benefit from you, from even a break fix standpoint or an MSP. I guess maybe by a show of hands, how many of you are MSPs versus just a break fix? So if you raise your hand, you're like more of an MSP side of the business. Thank you. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Lonnie. Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, so that's great. Thank you, Mitchell, as well. So that's really the big question is how do you develop this MSP type business, and what kind of tools are required for you to help to manage those all of those clients, all of those customers that you're working with, and in a single pane of glass and make it easy for you. I think in the days of break fix, it was difficult in the sense you had to create your own tools, monitoring tools. You had to build in your VPNs or backdoors so you can get into the network to do troubleshooting or even to do anything or do configurations or change configurations. But you can literally launch a network in minutes. Simply with just a few clicks, you can scan in the QR codes and it can download its firmware. It can auto provision the product, get its configuration files that you've pre-configured for the devices in that customer site. So it allows for you to deploy things very easily, very quickly. And from a management standpoint, anytime, anywhere you have access to the internet and you have a web browser or you have your web app within your phone, you can also access that network or to manage those different networks under that single pane of glass. And it makes it very easy for you to do that wherever you may be. So that's kind of the greatest, excuse me, IT, IT is, dream come true is that you can literally check on your network status or troubleshoot any network from anywhere you want or anywhere you can have access and internet wise. It gives you network clarity, something that is visibility into the network where you may not have it before. In a break fix scenario, I think the worst response that an MSP could have for your customer, if they call you and say, hey, my network is down or something is not working right. And your response as an MSP is, I don't know. Like, I'll have to go and take a look, right? So here gives you this access even before maybe something is going wrong to help to give you information, give you visibility into the network, to help you not have to roll a truck out there to figure out that all you had to do is reboot the device or something like that. You have this visibility into the network that is beyond what you would expect from from the value that we give it to you for. We even control guest, if you want to be able to control guest networks as well. Guest network access with captive portals, user device-based management, auto guest protection with guest isolation, making sure that the guest network is separated automatically from the traffic that is private or from other VLAN networks, et cetera. But being able to offer that and to control that, even the captive portal, being able to push people to a splash page, could be customized for that customer, however you may want to do that as well. But then you can also do two-factor authentication and manage all of those authentication methods as well through this cloud platform. Of course, firmware updates and keeping things up to date, or maybe making changes to configuration, updating SSIDs, et cetera. All of these updates happen over the cloud. So you are able to make that change from that single platform, single place on the cloud for that site and have it even scheduled to make that update or firmware updates when it gets pushed. Most people just have it set for auto. And so when we do release any kind of patch updates, et cetera, it will automatically just take on a base of a time schedule that they have set as well. Or you could just choose to update it, override and update it when it's convenient for you, or to schedule it when it's most convenient for you or your customer. The built-in user management, again, you don't need an extra like Radius server or anything like that. You can all manage all the user management, authentication to this two-factor authentication, WPA connectivity, or controlling VPN logins, et cetera, as well. You can do that within this cloud platform without having those extra servers or services needed. You can establish and use VPN tunnels, both L2TP, IPsec, site to site, and you can build that within that to make your home office connect, branch offices connected, as well in a simple configuration with the software clients, et cetera, that we have for devices on the endpoints, or from making site to site from router to router type connectivity as well. And so our products are certified as well for standard IPsec. So working with even other vendors and in making standard IPsec VPN tunnels site to site, it's all compatible there. And it's all backed by our award-winning cloud networking platform. It's fully customizable on the dashboard, and it's going to be made. Uh, it helps you to put the right information there for your customer to view or for you to use. What's relevant for you. That's a customizable widget there. Jose did ask, is WireGuard coming to VPN? I'll have to look into that in terms of that question there, Jose. At the moment, what we provide in terms of like the IPsec side is a direct IPsec client. Some of those other solutions that are out there, like either in Onions or Tor type VPNs, or even Open VPN type, as long as they support the IPsec standards, then we can make that connectivity. Right now, as well, we have over 100 devices making is part of our Nebula Cloud. Nebula supports Nebula Cloud, a whole range there. So if you want to see what the range looks like as well, you can always check out zyxel.com/nebula. There's also a demo page there as well that you can log in to see the interface and the GUI of Nebula. But again, this is where we see the stickiness and the benefits from a cloud solution platform for MSPs or even for individual IT people, because now you can manage one device or 1,000 devices on your network from a single platform. So just for you as partners, we have two types of products in terms of our naming, and you might see it in our description. Nebula Flex means that the product can work both in standalone mode, web GUI mode, or in the cloud mode. So it's optional to go to the cloud. The cloud portion of it in most Nebula Flex they're all included as part of the device. So you can have the base pack, which is free cloud with those products that are Nebula Flexed, and you can then upgrade to the Nebula Flex Pro package, which is typically for like more complex installations, because then they typically require some of the higher end features, especially on the wireless with the load balancing and the AI kind of pushing people to different channels and making sure that they're at the highest quality signal as possible. That's where most people will go to the Pro side of it. Also, you as an MSP, most all of our partners who consider themselves MSPs work out that they just go straight to the Pro, because they want that full 365 days of logs. So they can have that for auditing, for all sorts of other regulations or certifications that they need, and also the full feature set that's available on that side, on the Nebula side, gives them that full visibility that they really want or really need. So that's where most MSPs use that, because they just work that into the monthly price for that network, and it covers the the cloud per se charges. But even though the cloud charges there, it's nominal. It's very insignificant compared to what you can charge for your managed services there. So we're offering this as a platform that you can use this as really a springboard to launching or to enhancing your MSP services to your customer. Advanced machine learning on the switches and the Wi-Fi to help with the network, central managed licensing, et cetera, for all your devices. And then access to some of those higher level features, like I mentioned, from the switch and the AP side. So as I was mentioning too, there's a base pack. That base pack is it's simple. It gives you like a 24-hour log. So it's great for break fix type scenarios where the customer may say, hey, I don't really want to pay a monthly, but maybe you could charge them still a nominal fee so that you can continue to monitor them and get visibility. But then it gives you access for free to the cloud to then troubleshoot them, on the fly. But like I said, most people go to that Pro Pack. From the Pro Pack standpoint, it comes even when you're on a a Nebula Flex type product with no license, it still comes with a 30-day trial of the Pro Pack, so that you can see all the functionality, the features there that are available in the Pro Pack. From a pricing standpoint, the Pro Pack is $30 per. The street price is $30 a year per device. So that factors into about $2.50 street price, or your customer end price per month. So if you think of a doctor's office, they might have a switch, a access point, and maybe a firewall. In total, that would cost $2.75 a month in terms of the cloud cost to that customer. So factoring in whatever you may decide to charge for that, there's really a lot of room there for you to do that. The MSP pack is for maybe MSPs or customers like yourself who might be interested in, or might have more than, I would say, 10 to 15 customers, or you might have more than two, three, four technicians that you want to kind of split up responsibilities, or even regional type admins, then the MSP pack is great for that, because then it allows for you to use at a high level who belongs to what, kind of like I would say like a Windows directory, or a Windows like Active Directory, like who has access to what files, or servers, or file shares, etc. You can put that into that um, kind of that window setup there, to allow for people to have access to those things, with and minimizing your risks. So you don't have an admin that's supposed to only manage a couple of customers, but his account has access to all the customers, right? You want to minimize risks there if you need to there. So that is our Nebula cloud platform, just in a nutshell. Again, I encourage you, if you have a desire to want to test that out, and use Nebula, for the first time. We know that once you try Nebula, and for what you see, especially compared to some of our competitors in the market, it's going to blow you away in terms of what you get on that base pack, and then the full featuredness of that pro pack. And the beauty of it as well is, you as partners have access to us directly to say, hey, how can I provide you some information, or how do I tell you, how do I help Zyxel improve on that Nebula process or Nebula system? Maybe there's some information that's missing that would be helpful to you in terms of your day-to-day, or from a troubleshooting standpoint. Please let us know, because we are constantly evolving that product in the cloud, and there's enhancements, happening almost every quarter now, with some sort of update patch or updates to the feature set and functionalities that we've added to it. Not only do we add more products, but then we add more functionality features to continue to improve and evolve the product as well. So from a security standpoint, now this is a product that's dear to me, and everybody's hearing in the news a lot of the ransomware that's happening, all of the breaches that have continued to happen with a lot of retail stores, et cetera. And how do you protect yourself? And I think the one policy that I would say for you, as MSPs, you are the extension. I guess you are the defense of a lot of these customers. These end customers really have, a lot of them have no clue. They just want to have a service that they know that can protect them, but they don't want to pay, exorbitant amounts to have this full level security, right? So there's always that clash, or you're trying to find that balance. How do I offer as much security as I can? But even as you, as business people, and or even as a responsible MSPs, like that they should be protected to like this level, right? To this, at least the highest level you can think of, because you don't want to deal with the breaches. You don't want to deal with the repercussions of them saying, hey, why didn't you protect my network? So we offer a security solution as well, that can scale to what you need. We understand that some customers will be fine and okay with just having basic security, but our jobs is to educate you as MSPs, and also help you to educate the end users and your customers on why it is necessary for you to go with as much security as you possibly can, literally, afford. But I think from this standpoint, products that we offer are very affordable in offering that, especially on the MSP level. You're talking some products that are doing a huge capacity of things, but at a price point that is great and perfect for the SMB. And that's where we have successes in the SMB space, anywhere between 5 user offices up to like 500 user type offices. We have products that scale and span in between all of that. But it gives you that content filtering, that ransomware blocking. You can do secure Wi-Fi as well to help secure that, connect and protect on all the endpoints, even including the access points. So you have viruses or malware that is detected or coming from a bad address or DNS, that can also be blocked right at the AP level as well. But full UTM security, most people use that, but we offer the gold security pack. That's the highest level of security that we offer. That includes sandboxing, IP reputation blocking, and DNS reputation blocking as well as your anti-malware, anti-ransomware, application control, web filtering, spam filtering, all of those IDP, IPS, all of that within that bundle of that gold security package, and includes also 1 year of the Pro Nebula pack as well. So it gives you all the logging, all of the security that you would need, that we have, that's available in the market space today. And we bring a lot of that enterprise class functionality and protection and bringing that into a small business environment and in that price point that makes sense. So it's security that continuously evolves, meaning that it's always checking for the latest updates. Again, some of those partners that you saw earlier, we work with them and using their expertise to providing us with the information that's required or needed in order to best protect the network there. So, but just keep in mind as well, this is not a lot of MSPs in the past or partners have come to me and said, hey, well, if I buy this product, do I need to get like antivirus on the endpoints? And the answer is yes, you still do, because the device cannot go into the PC and actually remove any kind of malware if it happens to get in there. And it also doesn't have, all the billions of signatures that are, that are out there in terms of virus or malware. It protects against the latest threats out there that's being seen that's being propagated across the world, based again on those providers and those expert providers that we partner with. And so all of that comes into play, but we protect you against at least from the 0-day type threats, things that are starting to come out or things that have been detected around the world, and maybe somebody has seen it, or maybe they've received a ransomware that's then reported into the system, and the cloud will update itself to protecting everybody who's under that umbrella network. So it provides, really a easy way for you to make sure that security is up to date. You just have to make sure you turn it on and have it configured correctly. We do have some partners who just assume that you just buy the product, you put it in there, and you just leave it, and that's it. But you do have to at least register it and turn it on to make sure that it's working, and kind of choose the profile. Now, I do have the policy or the mentality of there should be a philosophy of deny first in terms of protection. Um, uh, it's the kind of the concept of making sure that you just block everything, and then you open up the things that you're using in terms of business. That's the only way you're going to protect yourself against like a lot of these 0-day type threats. It does cause a little bit more work in the beginning as you're trying to create those rules and profiles, and as the business starts to evolve or use those types of things. But that's kind of the best way for you to be ultimately secure. Turn off the ports you don't use, or turn off all the services you don't use. If you don't use VPN site to site, turn that off. If you don't, and only open it up when you do have a site to site or have somebody who's remote. So making these connections and being able to protect that from a collaborative defense response standpoint. Our firewalls can then communicate with switches and APs to isolate users that they may be detecting that might be malware or some sort of potential threat issue there. So that's how we work with products. When it is all Zyxel products, we have the ability to communicate and talk to those other devices to take action. It's a place for centralized provisioning and synchronization of configurations, but also policies. So security policies, VPN policies. If you're managing customers that have like maybe 10 different stores, but you want your manager to be able to VPN to any one of those, managing again all in a central location, and then being able to push changes if you want to change an SSID for, let's say, a hospitality customer, and since they have a conference happening there, this weekend, you can push to add an SSID for the conference into the entire network, and have that as a secondary, third, or fourth SSID that's now broadcasting for that system. You can then push that SSID to a separate splash page for advertisement or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, things that you can do with with the solutions that are available today. And of course, everybody's working remote, so finding ways to make sure that it's not just remote, but secure remote. So we offer something like secure Wi-Fi, which I'll talk about on the next slide. Two-factor authentication at the edge with IPsec VPN, with like Google Authenticator, for example, being able to create auto VPN configurations between sites and endpoints to make sure it's easier for you to configure, so you don't have to manually configure. So you can use an auto configurator there as well. So secure Wi-Fi helps to simplify kind of a remote access or workspace by just deploying a supported access point. So we have access points within the Zyxel system that has support for secure Wi-Fi. And what it will do is, on that network, once it knows that it's supposed to connect back to an office network, it will build a secure tunnel through the internet back to that, basically a VPN tunnel back to the Office network. Now, all of the devices that connect to it, which is kind of an extension of that Office, can connect to it using the same profiles and security profiles that you have set within the Office, so that those devices, you can bring your laptop home, you have an AP that is secure Wi-Fi back to the Office network, and the person who went from the Office went home with that same laptop or phone or whatever it may be as their workstation, now can connect to those same services as if they were sitting in the Office itself. So that helps you to maintain this really easy of connection. Sorry about that. That caught me right there. Um, Ease of connection, ease of making sure that the security policies are put into place, and doing it seamlessly without having to replace the home router or having to ask the ISP to open up ports or put it into bridge mode or anything like that. You can just literally drop in to another Office environment there. So you can extend the intelligence information. Since it's a security product, it collects a lot of information like threats. It monitors bandwidth usage, abnormal user behavior. That gets all reported within the cloud into what we call Secu Reporter. And that gives you insight on what's happening from a network security standpoint. You can create customized reports. And this is great for especially MSPs. You charge, X dollars a month for your managed security services to the customer, which includes all of this UTM blocking, all this ransomware blocking. But then how do you prove or how do you showcase that the fact that the product is actually doing what it's doing, to at least inform the customer on the value of what is doing. All of our UTM services also come with a 30-day trial. So I would suggest, if you have customers who say, hey, I don't want the full thing yet, put them on the base, turn on the 30-day trial, start collecting that information, collecting the logs, and send them a report after 30 days and say, hey, see, this is all the stuff that's going to get blocked, all the ransom that you're seeing, all of the port detections, all the attacks that's happening on a firewall. When you have that just there, and if you don't turn on protection, then you're never going to know, and we're never going to block, that kind of stuff that's happening, or visibility on where your employees are going from a website standpoint. What websites are they going to? What services, what applications are they downloading from? Are they watching Netflix? Are they watching all these things or doing things that you maybe as the employer doesn't want to, allow for the employee to do from a productivity standpoint? So you can offer this kind of services to that customer and allow for them to be able to have control over that. In this secure reporter, you can set it up for like monthly reports that get sent to the IT manager or to the president of the company, however you may want to do it as part of their bill, and say, thank you very much. This is why, this is what you're paying for. It's not something that's just obscure, oblivious out there, but something that shows direct value. So the security line is broken into kind of three sections. We call it simplicity, flexibility, and ultimate, but the ultimate series now also includes our H series. So what you'll see here is our USG Flex, that comes with bundled or non-bundled. So it has the UTM licenses here. Let me see if I could bring out my little pointer here, a laser pointer. So you'll have these functions. So you can see the Flex model is probably our mainstream product today. And it doesn't have the sandboxing IP reputation filter or DNS filter. But if you do add the gold license to the Flex, then you'll have the full feature, including those three pieces that typically you had to get it with just our ATP series. But now our USG Flex has that license for the gold, and it gives you that sandboxing, IP reputation filtering, and DNS reputation as well. Our USG Flex H, which I'll cover why is it called H in just a moment, but it will include everything as well. There's some features right now that's currently still in development. So full central management via Nebula is available later this year. Right now, it has the interfaces within the GUI. So you can manage it in the cloud, but through the GUI via Nebula, but to the GUI. So it doesn't really matter how you manage it, whether it's been a GUI interface in the cloud or a GUI interface that you log into. It's going to be the same configuration ultimately in the end. There's not going to be any separate configurations on that. What you see is what you're going to get in terms of configuration. But we will mirror the configuration from that H series into the cloud later this year. So then, it just makes it, I guess you can choose which way you want to do it. Either way will work. Other things that are coming in, the 2FA login and VPN is already here. There's some other profiles that the profile syncing is going to coming in April. Secure Wi-Fi is also coming in this April timeframe as well. So support for that for the H series. So you'll see that coming next month. So the Flex series is our high performance USG Flex. From the previous generation, it's a lot faster. It gives you multi-WAN load balancing, or maybe if your customers use Azure or AWS today to make to access services, etc. Our product is only one of 7 vendors in the world that have certifications for both Azure and Amazon AWS. So we're certified to connect VPN wise and make sure that it's all compatible and its uptime is, to meet the standards of those services there. So look into that if that's what you're using today, or if you need a firewall that connects into that cloud services. So the USG H series is basically our high performance, high speed, next generation firewall, secure, fast protection. It offers multi-gig ports options, 10 gig versions, as well as PoE plus options and versions in there as well. So you can power usually 1 or 2 devices with the PoE that's included on the device itself. It's also software defined ports in our solution. So you can choose what port is going to be your LAN, which one's going to be your WAN, how many ports are going to be. You can do multiple LAN. So you might have a customer who says, I want to get 2 different internet connections for high availability, or maybe because of remote workers, they're having to get a synchronous WAN connection for people who are remote VPNing. They need the higher upload speed from the office so that they can download information to their home office. So, people are doing that and taking advantage of the load balancing and failover capabilities of these types of products. It makes it easy because it's part of that Nebula ecosystem. So it allows for you getting this up and started and ready in just minutes. With the Pro package, one of the main benefits I see in terms of an MSP is we typically deploy networks that are virtually the same. You have a firewall, you have a switch, and you have a bunch of access points that are connected to that switch. The number of them, or the type of equipment or the technology that you're using may be different, but the network is literally the same. So what you can do is, in the Pro package, you can create template sites where you can then say, this is my best practice. This is my template for this type of customer. When you sell that type of customer, you can literally copy, duplicate that site over, make some changes that are custom to the new customer, and then deploy it, auto provision it to scan a switch, a gateway, access points, and put that in and get that installed. Once it gets internet connectivity, it calls home and says, hey, who do I belong to? Puts you into that organization, puts you into that site, downloads the config, downloads all of the information, the new firmware, et cetera. So that allows for you to do that here as well in the security side, to create your best practice security template and be able to use that to monitor and to configure your devices. So the Flex H today has what we call centralized managed mode within the Nebula cloud. And it has like an SSH secure tunnel to remotely access the GUI of the device and brings that forth into the Nebula platform, where then you can make the configurations, et cetera. You can still back up and restore all of those configurations in the cloud, so you can manage that in case something happens, and manage all the firmware upgrades information there as well. I mentioned we work with a lot of different partners, but in order to make the product work and make it best in class, we think in the SMB space here, we work with a lot of best in class security experts to providing different aspects, different features and functions within our solution today. So a lot of these names, you're very familiar with. Some maybe not, but they provide some of the best technologies out there for those services today. So the H series is all about speed, performance. I didn't put the specs on here, but the high end, the USG Flex 700H has 10 gigabit ports. You can actually see them You can see them right here. SFP pluses. It also has 2.5 and 10 gig copper as well option with PoE, two PoE ports. Everything else is 2.5 or 1 gig. So that gives you a great benefit there if you want to have 2.5 WAN or higher WAN speeds. This particular product will max the theoretical max tested speed for SPI firewall is 15 gigs, and the UTM performance, the testing performance is at 4 gigs. So I would recommend that to be 2.5 to 3. If you have a 3 gig connection, you can do full UTM on it, no problem there. But then it ranges all the way down to, even on the low end side, it can support a 3 to 400 megabit connection with full UTM with no problems there. Actually, I think it's even 500 megabits per second. I think that's there. But it's ultra high performance, and again, centrally managed there. So the last 20 minutes or so, we're going to talk about Wi-Fi and switches. Wi-Fi technology is a big, big seller for us. It's probably the thing that most people gravitate most towards in terms of switching to a solution for providing, trying out a Zyxel solution for network and for Wi-Fi. Let's see. Wolfgang asked, when will the next firmware be online? Many features are missing right now. So the next iteration will be in April. I did do a webinar on the security update. If you want to look some of our historical webinars, you'll find one, Wolfgang, in our list there, where I did kind of an update on the security side, so you kind of get an idea. Many of the features come in April, and then the full feature set and the Nebula side is going to also come in October this year. So the main point of that is, if you need that high speed today with UTM functionality, you can still get that today with what is available there. If there are some specific features that you might have, Wolfgang, you can send me an email, and I'll gladly look at what you're trying to use, because what we do find is majority of those features that we still are missing right now, a lot of people don't use, but they would rather benefit right now from the higher speed with full UTM. So they want to take advantage of that, and they're okay without some of that other features. So just let me know. So we come with 3 VPN. I'll check on the SNAT. Yeah, definitely send me an email so I can check out with my engineer on that side. So the wireless comes in kind of 3 flavors: a static antenna, what we call dual optimized antennas, and smart antenna. And that's our flagship patented technology in the smart antenna space. So to understand what it means when you look at our antenna, when we say, if the product ends in a D, like you'll see, then it in the product name, that means it's a dual optimized antenna. It means that you can flip it between ceiling and wall mount. So you can change the antenna pattern. So in a typical, AP, you might just have more of a planar, football on top of the, the top of the AP, because it's made to mostly hang on the ceiling. But in some cases, you can't do the ceiling and you want to do a wall mounted scenario. You can't leave it that way, because then it's just going to bleed floor to floor. It's going to go up and down, and it's not going to go horizontal to the floor. So you can change it to a wall mount scenario. You can either, I think now it's more digital, but some of our older products did have a little toggle switch on it. But now you can just do it in the software. It changes the pattern so that it switches into more of a oblong along to the, along the plane. But you can use this in your advantage as well. Some people will use this so that they can get a smaller cone in maybe a conference center, so they don't have as much bleed over into the room, but more of concentrated straight down, or in a warehouse scenario. So that, again, they don't want to bleed too much, to the floor, but they want to just go more concentrated to the ground. Then they may use the wall mount scenario, but put it on the ceiling still to point it straight down. So again, it gives you that option, gives you that flexibility to make sure that the signal is as best as possible. But if you use our smart antenna technology, it's our award-winning patented technology, then you don't have to worry about whether you put it on a wall or on the ceiling. This will manage it for you. And it does what we call Wi-Fi mitigation using our smart antenna technology. So the main thing that causes interference or issues today is what we call co-channel interference, meaning there's too many channels being used, too many devices that are there. They're trying to talk to each other. And the only solution typically in the past was to turn everything down, but then you'll have dead spots and coverage areas will be poor. So there's no overlapping, right? So smart antenna can help with this because it can increase the capacity, increase coverage, reduce interference all at the same time. And how does it work? So let's say you have some interference and you have a standalone static kind of AP there. It's going to cause interference within the network space and cause, packet loss or retries or just slow networks in general. With the smart antenna, it actually looks at when different patterns, antenna patterns will be tried out. Up to 700 optimized antenna patterns will be scanned to find what is most optimal for that Wi-Fi client. So basically, it's doing this in the technology so you can hear me better, and then it's also doing this so it can hear you better. Everything without your client does not need that. So it creates its own beam for that purpose, and so it improves that quality, improves that interference and noise that's happening behind it. So that's kind of the main purpose of, maybe from a simplistic state, but it does provide you a superior Wi-Fi experience for your customers, and from a noise, especially if you have it in high concentration areas or in applications where you have many APs that are probably close together in an office environment, again, because you need the density, but you also need to manage the signaling as well. So the Wi-Fi offers, simple mesh capabilities. So if you don't have an Ethernet run to a certain AP, you can use that to mesh even through Nebula itself. It can do that mesh, make that connections between that, and then offer that service Wi-Fi coverage within the area on that mesh. WPA2, PA3, enterprise security, if you need to do 802.1x authentication. Roaming is a standard there as well, and fast roaming, all of that. And then you can use things what we call a dynamic pre-shared key, or dynamic personal pre-shared key. Allows for you to create a network, a single SSID network, and based on the pre-shared key they use is what network VLAN they are put into. So think about an MDU type scenario where you might just, instead of having all the offices having their own SSID, create one SSID, and just based on the authentication passphrase that they use to log in, puts them into their specific office. So IoT devices, if you want to connect hotel rooms or people in a resort together, as long as they're using the same passphrase, then they're interconnected together. Lonnie does ask, does the smart antenna also work on outdoor devices in bridge mode? So if you have depends on it. We do not have a smart antenna outdoor device. But if maybe the device is, you're using a smart antenna in a housing that's facing outdoors, and you have a client device that's on the remote side that's connecting to it, and then yes, it still will benefit from the smart antenna, because now it's seeing that client, it's trying to reach that client, talking to it. But usually in an outdoor environment, you're going longer distances, as long as you're not going really far, as long as you're within still the 200-300 feet of Wi-Fi, I would say Wi-Fi technology, then that smart antenna will help with that environment. The other thing that will help with that environment is if you're going to use, I would say, our Wi-Fi 7 that gets you to the 6 gigahertz range, then there's a lot cleaner signal that you can use as well. But it depends on that outdoor device in bridge mode there. But we do have people making those connections, in the past. With the Pro package, we use AI machine learning to help adjust clients to the right channel widths, to the right channels, or to help to kick users off of an access point that they're connected to so they can connect to a better access point. How many of you have like an iPhone or something that when you are at this access point, it connects? You can walk to the next access point, but it's still connected to the one that you were just at, right? It's very sticky because it's based on the client device on when it decides to, deassociate and try to find another network. So what we do within the Nebula Cloud, we can detect that signal strength, and you can set the threshold, let's say -85 or -80, however you may want to do it, so that the AP will detect a client when it hits the -87, it will kick it so that it will force it to re-authenticate or re-associate to another AP that's maybe closer in their area. So again, it helps to feed for a better overall user experience versus those who are still trying to connect to the far AP and can't send traffic. We take RF design into consideration. It's a big deal to us because we design all of our products. And again, our products come in simplicity, flexibility, and ultimate in a different range. You want on the low end, if you want to compete on just like cost and budget and simplicity, that's our kind of our NWA series that you might see here. But really, we want you to get to our AX and our Wi-Fi 7 solution. So we carry a full range of Wi-Fi 6 with 6E standard there with the smart antenna. Again, if it ends in S, so you'll see like a WAX 630S, that's when you start seeing smart antenna. The S stands for smart antenna. This is dual optimized antenna in the 6E space, and this is our flagship Wi-Fi 6E WX 640S. So it's smart antenna with the 6E range. And then we have some outdoor solution products as well. So the 650S as well. That's not the 6E, but it's still smart antenna. And of course, we've now recently launched Wi-Fi 7. Wi-Fi 7, why is it better, faster, bigger, stronger? I mean, that's our usual, right? So better speeds, better latency, better bandwidth, better dealing with interference. And the one feature that I just want to leave you with that's in development still, but it's going to be coming because until clients can support it, it doesn't get any benefit right now. But in Wi-Fi 6, you had to choose whether you're connected to 2.4 or 5 gigahertz today. With Wi-Fi 7, we have what we call multi-link operation. It will be able to operate on all three spaces at the same time. So it depends on what is probably best for the device, for the client device, and what's supported in the client device. In some cases, it might just be 2.4 and 6 or 2.4 and 5 and 6, but it increases capacity, increases reliability. And not only is it just on on a single access point, but it can also do it across multiple access points at the same time. So we just launched our NWA 130BE. It's our kind of our cost-effective, probably I would say high run rate mass market type AP with Wi-Fi 7. It's a BE 11,000 tri radio. And so it's 2x2 in 2.4, 5, and 6 gigahertz radio, and can offer up to speeds of 11 gigs of full theoretical throughput there. It's managed in their Nebula Flex. It has 2.5 gig LAN ports, 2.5 gig uplink ports where it's powered by the PoE as well. And if you need to power it just on a kind of a standalone, then you can use the DC jack there for that. It also comes with, it doesn't come with, but it's sold separately, is what we call our T-bar mounting kit. The ceiling mount or the multi-mount kit, this comes with the device, but these little clips come as a separate purchase if you're wanting to mount them on little T-bars. So then it gives you little screw holes that then you can then screw this mounting kit to. So it allows for you to manage all those drop ceilings there. So that's kind of just an example how you install that. And then you click in the AP, not at that angle based on the orientation of the original, but the concept is there. It's made for high density locations, for schools, for places where you might have high congestions, overcrowding, a lot of Wi-Fi. So you can split up the 2.5, 5, and 6 gigahertz for different applications, or high bandwidth applications. If you're doing like VR, gaming, AR type stuff in a production studio type environment. And I'd like to tell you now that our NWA 130BE comes with a street price of $179.99. It beats the prices of those two competitors that are there as well, and even from a performance standpoint. And I would say our Nebula platform will outperform any of the feature sets that you see in those competitors today. On top of that, we also have our full-fledged Wi-Fi 7, our flagship WBE 660S. It's our smart antenna tri-radio, world's first tri-radio with smart antenna Wi-Fi 7 access point. It's our enterprise class Wi-Fi 7 connectivity with Nebula Pro capabilities, up to 22 gigabits on the tri-radio. Goes to 4x4 on every one of the radios, 4x4 2.4, 4x4 5 gigahertz, and 4x4 6 gigahertz. It has a lot of the filterings that you have to deal with for cellular and things like that. And it has our award-winning smart antenna technology in there. And again, we take pride in how we design our products with the shielding, BLE for IoT devices, so you can support those. High performance signal amplification boosters, heat spreaders, the smart antenna platform, as well as the shielding. It comes with 10 gig uplink, so 10 gig and PoE injected. It needs the PoE++ Ultra PoE. So if you do get one of these and you plug it into a 30-watt standard, it's going to tell you that it's running in degradation mode, meaning that one of the radios is probably not on. So you'll see some degradation there from a fully function standpoint. So you definitely need either an injector or have a 10 gig or multi-gig switch that has support for the 60-watt standard for this particular one. The other, the NWA 130BE, you don't need a Ultra PoE for that. You can still use those in the standard 30-watt PoE space. And I always call this the external cooling design, or AKA the Foreman grill. But it is the back plate of it. Again, it's operating three gigantic, heat creating Wi-Fi cards in there, powered by Qualcomm, and uh, it's like almost like a metal. It's like a metal housing, like a metal material. So when you pick one of these up, it's actually a pretty hefty device. It can be powered by a PoE++ or a USB-C cable connector. So you can, pretty much use anything like that that's sitting around the house even. 10 gig uplink ports with a 1 gig pass through if you want to pass through some other device that's sitting on that network. It also comes with a mounting plate. So this metal mounting plate makes it easy for you to put it in any kind of orientation, different types of boxes, outlet boxes. And again, those drop ceiling clips come into play where you can then click on the APs to the same clips there. So that's our wireless side, and I'm going to go quickly through our wired network. Everybody thinks of the wireless side to be, it's a beautiful thing. It's the front facing, but we definitely want to make sure that the infrastructure side of the network is as made as best as possible to deliver those kinds of solutions. Let's see. Lonnie said, I may have missed this, but do Zyxel APs shift channels automatically when they run an interference from each other? Yes. So what you can do is you can set dynamic channelization. We do recommend for you to control that by setting static, or at least choosing the options on which it should shift to. So it just doesn't kind of randomly shift to kind of obscure ones that may still cause interference. But it depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to shift it within 2.4, 5, or 6 gigahertz, you can kind of choose the channels that you want them to go. And we do have some drop downs that are like for the standards, right? 111, 1, 6, and 11 for the 2.4, and et cetera. In the 5 gigahertz is a little more tricky because you may run into the radar DFS channels that you can't use. So that's why 6 gigahertz is so good for this, because it's pretty much wide open. And there's a lot more channels where you can still benefit from the high bandwidth and not deal with a lot of channel, interference on that. So on the wired side, we want to make sure your network is made as well as possible, properly powered, has the right bandwidth. It's not the bottleneck to delivering those services, especially for Wi-Fi 7. So some of the naming conventions that's maybe important to you now is maybe the XS naming of the switch is the 10 gig with multi-gig. So they're all 10 gig ports at least and have multi-gig support. The XGS is a 10 gig uplink port with gigabit port, primary ports. And the XMG switch is multi-gig. So typically they're all multi-gig 2.5, 5, or 10 gig ports. And then if it ends in an HP, then it's a PoE switch, high power PoE. EP is like an economic or eco power budget there for EP. FP is what we use for a larger power budget, more than standard. And if it just ends in a plain F, then it's a fiber type switch where all the ports are fiber. So our fiber ports are SFP, SFP plus, so 1 gig and 10 gig. And we have transceivers that all connect into that as well. And everything is powered by PoE. So just make sure that you have the right cabling that can push the right speeds at the right distances. So in order to get the full 10 gig speed at the full Ethernet cabling at 10 gigs, then you need a Cat 6A cable. Otherwise, you can get 5 gigs with the Cat 6. And then PoE power, because now we're dealing with 60 watt power. PoE 30 watt is what we use today, 802.3 AT. PoE++ or Ultra PoE is 60 watts, and that's our 802.3 BT standard, and that can push up to 51 watts of power. And we have a full feature set of fiber modules that you can use for multi-mode and single mode fiber. Or if you're trying to uplink our switches on the 10 gig side, we have direct attach cables that make it super easy, plug and play. You don't have to deal with fiber or termination or anything like that. It's like connecting an Ethernet cable just from one SFP plus to another SFP plus slot on that switch. It comes with full enterprise type big configurations, functionalities, VLAN, vendor-based VLAN, voice VLANs, automatic-based VLANs based on the OUI to automatically put them into the right bucket or right network, auto detect and recover connected PoE devices to help you to reboot them. And a lot of customers will use this as a troubleshooting method. Let's say an AP is not responding or it seems like it's down. You go into the switch, you power cycle that PoE port through the GUI, through the Nebula interface, and see if that device comes back online. Or get information. You can drill into that, of course, as well. A lot of machine learning information as well that you can get from it. You'd be able to visualize the network, to do automatic topology. That's part of our Pro package, detecting other devices within that network, and then kind of building out what it sees in terms of what is connected to what. Virtual switch stacking within the Nebula platform, visualizing the ports, getting real-time information on utilization, traffic, and PoE utilization, and being able to do diagnostic tools, remote cable fiber testing, etc. It gives you network resilience and security. So making sure that you can back up your devices, enable port and user security. If you want to do 802.1x authentication, you want to do MAC, MAC freezes and loop guard, DHCP guard, so people can't put a rogue router onto the network and cause havoc onto the network, so that only DHCPs come from a very specific port or MAC address. You can control all of that, and it allows for you to do link aggregation, do rapid spanning tree, different switch routing protocols as well. So being able to manage, as long as the switch can support it, you can manage it in the Nebula platform and be able to deploy configurations easily and quickly, be able to clone, again, like I said, different sites, including the switch side, and be able to push configuration where all the switches can then have this aspect of or understanding of the different VLANs that exist in that network. So it also comes in what we call simplicity, flexibility, and ultimate. And the 1915 series is very simple. Is our PoE injections. So we have our 60 watt, 5 gig capable PoE injector and a PoE 12-30W, which is a 2.5 gig with 30 watt. So those are great if you just need some PoE for like a single camera or maybe a device or an access point, and you don't have like need a full-fledged switch there. You can use those. Our GS1915 series is our base level web managed that is cloud manageable. So this has the Nebula Flex capability. So you can choose to use this with as a cost-effective entry level cloud managed switch with PoE options as well. So it has a lower PoE budget, but again, it depends on your application. This would be great for even voice or for voice or access point, smaller access point deployments. And on the IPTV camera side of it, we have a GS1350. These are specialized CCTV type features that include extended range. You can go up to 250 meters instead of 100 meters on the Ethernet cable and provide PoE for maybe a remote camera, and then you don't need a kind of an extender in between that network. It also provides continuous PoE. So even if you do a kind of configuration change or a software change that requires the switch to do a software reboot, it will still continue to deliver power onto those ports, so those cameras don't have to reboot in the process of that. And then also automatic camera discovery as well. So it can deal with all those situations where if traffic stops, then it can actually push a reset into that PoE port. Then you have our 10 gig web managed switch. Again, it's managed in the cloud. It can be managed standalone or in the cloud. People who want a 10 gig backbone use this switch today. Or if they're looking for a 10 gig version of that, then our XS1930 series, it's all 10 gig ports, or copper or fiber options with without PoE. And the PoE port density on that is 8 port with 375 watts in that form factor. And then our multi-gig switch is what we're going to use for a lot of our Wi-Fi 7 type deployments, XMG 1930s, because it does offer up to 700 watts of PoE power, 2.5 gig ports mainly, with 10 gig optional ports there. And then our XGS 2220 is our fully layer 2 managed switch that has 10 gig uplinks. So if you're looking for things with like CLI, a fully layer 2 managed, that's what's going to be available. And then our XS 3800 is kind of a data center type switch where it has a lot of different options for 10 gig, both copper and fiber, depending on what you're doing. So we are part of the channel and we have a partner program. If you're not part of our partner program already, please sign up. It has no cost to you, but it allows for you to get access to discounts at distribution, DNH, Ingram, Cinex, Wave, Target, Pace. We're working on a few others as well, but those are the majority of the main ones. So if you don't have it loaded, please contact your sales rep and we'll get those loaded for you. If you'd like to connect with us, please on LinkedIn, Zyxel-US-channel. On YouTube, you can find our videos at Zyxel America channel. You can also connect with me if you just search on LinkedIn, Zyxel Tri, and you'll find me as well. Please connect with me. Since we don't have time for questions, I'm going to skip. Just if you do have a question, please feel free to send me an email. It's tri@zyxel.com. And I know, Wolfgang, you had the question on the SNAT, et cetera. Please send that to me as well. And Jose, if you have any questions, please send that to me as well. But I'm going to leave you, since I did go over by a minute or two. I do thank you for your time. We had a lot to cover. There's still a lot more that could be covered. But again, if you have any questions, any thoughts, we're here to help you. Enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your afternoon. Thanks for joining me here on Tech Talk. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Have a good day.